Here's a day in my life as a private chef to an NFL player in LA. Today, my client requested chicken and steak truffle pasta, a Caesar salad, some toasted ciabatta bread with a side of garlic truffle compound butter that I made, and for dessert, chewy brown butter chocolate chip cookies. I cut a few chicken breasts in half, made a little seasoning blend of garlic, onion powder, black pepper, and a lot of truffle salt. And for my steak, today I'm doing ribeye. I let it sit at room temperature for a little while, and then I cut off a little bit of the excess fat because my client isn't a huge fan. Then I oil my steak, add plenty of truffle salt, black pepper, and a little bit of garlic powder until fully coated. And if you want to make a really good steak, you'll need good aromatics, so I always use rosemary, thyme, and garlic, and even sometimes I'll add a shallot for more flavor. I knew I was making cookies, so I made sure to brown some unsalted butter, and I think that was the first time I made these cookies for my client, and he was a huge fan, and low-key asked me to make these cookies pretty often, which is a great thing to hear from a client as a private chef. I didn't have enough time to get fresh whole truffles, and honestly, I don't think my client would have even wanted any because he doesn't love mushrooms, which means he probably wouldn't like fresh truffles, which I actually learned that day. But I went to Whole Foods and grabbed this truffle pate, which I added to some unsalted butter along with a few other ingredients to make my truffle garlic compound butter. Then I popped my garlic bread in the oven and I seared my chicken until golden brown. And in the same pan, I added rosemary, thyme, and some sage, some butter and water. This will make a really good pan sauce and ensure fully cooked chicken that isn't dry. If you want to make a really good chocolate chip cookie, I highly recommend 1, browning some butter. 2, I usually opt for vanilla bean paste instead of vanilla extract whenever I'm baking. And I love a little flaky salt on top of my cookies. For my salad topping, I toasted garlic and panko and some butter and finished it off with a lot of Parmesan on top, but my client was not a huge fan of the dressing I used, so in retrospect, I definitely should have just made homemade Caesar dressing, but he did really enjoy the garlic bread. After searing my ribeye in the same pan, I cooked down some mushrooms for that umami flavor. I didn't end up adding mushrooms into the pasta because my client doesn't like mushrooms. Then I used some of my truffle butter to saute my shallot and garlic until fragrant. Added some Pinot Grigio for a bit of acidity and balance, and then I added heavy cream, Parmigiano Reggiano, more of the truffle pate, and then I just let that get nice and creamy. And for the noodles, I end up using mezzi rigatoni instead of regular rigatoni. And my client likes his steak cooked about medium well, so obviously that's what I did. I added some of the au jus from the chicken, grated Parmesan and fresh parsley on top for a little razzle dazzle. My client enjoyed dinner. He cleared his plate and got seconds, which is always a compliment to the chef. Now all that's left to do is bake a couple cookies, clean up, and that was my day.